There we are. There we are. We got some audio, guys. As you can probably tell, we are actually live, and we have had the last give or take 21 minutes to figure out that the way we were going to do it didn't work. Great.
Yes, and welcome to Kind of Coffee with Nick today. My lovely assistant Brian J. Birds here has brought me over to his office, getting some really good Americano. If you haven't tried their coffee machine, it's breathtaking. And he's doing his thing again where I have no idea what we're about to talk about. And if we're being completely honest, I don't even know if I'm on camera. And if I am on camera, I might very well have some emoji face like we're talking
The
about.
answer is we're paying over here. I'm gonna start pointing.
We're over here. Okay.
All right. So we had a full setup. It's pretty. It would have
Does look
looked
nice.
amazing, but it
From this side.
didn't work. Didn't work one bit. So the conversation that I wanted to have today is exactly this. In fact, is technology and the scariness of the fact that we just spent 21 minutes with me sweating bullets,
And me drinking way too much coffee.
right? And as you can tell just by a glimpse of what we have going on the actual desk here, there was quite a bit of technology. We had these beautiful cameras and they just don't work. Don't work. So nonetheless, the point is that yes, technology can be difficult, right? Even for somebody like me that understands most of what I'm doing, or at least
Which
pretends.
you understand why I was brought here, because I don't understand any of this crap. Yes, I think you're right, Bill. We can, if that's what we're talking about today, I think an over reliance on technology can definitely be a bad thing. And I know I've seen it many times in the field, even as a young Marine, when they would hand us a map and a protractor and a compass, and they would say, you need to figure out how to get from here to there and back again. And we became very proficient with our Linzatic compass, our map, and our protractor. Nowadays, and even actually soon after that, they started giving everybody GPS, right? So you get out there and you're like, what happens when you start relying on that nice, my phone even has a really cool little app on there.
Yeah.
Wherever I need to go in the woods, whatever.
Not only can it get you everywhere you want, but we were actually scrambling yesterday to find a measurement, which we all in the olden days called a measuring tape. And it turns out, in fact, another realtor said, hey, I'll just get it when I get my laser measuring kit. We're like, doesn't your phone have a measuring? And Nick ran around the office proceeding to measure everything.
Every single thing.
Mouse pad, everything.
My point is, before I got to the tape measure that we didn't have yesterday, is that yeah, you start relying on this nice, easy technology. But what happens when that technology goes out? Right? So just take one little thing. You've got the big brain on Brian over here, who here we are 21 minutes late, getting these things ready to go because the technology doesn't play nice. So that's one of those kind of things. So if we start paying attention to our GPS, let's say we've got a mission we need to get taken care of. We got to get from point A to point wherever, right? And we have our GPS. It goes out. What now? But we haven't been training on our compass, our map, or we don't even bring one because all we needed was our GPS. And now what happens, right? You don't stick to the basics. If you don't learn those tools and techniques and remember those things and always get in there, then what happens? The mission is a failure, right? Or we start to ruin this way.
But the other side of that coin is when it does work, the beauty of it working, right? So
Super fun.
there's two sides of that coin.
It was a lot more fun to measure things with my phone yesterday. I'm now measuring things that just didn't need to be measured. And I'm probably gonna do that. If I had a tape measure, I'd gone out like, how long is this desk? Will it fit in this room? I've been finished, right? Way more fun to measure everything.
Well, and it's something that now can be translated, right? It can be distributed to other people, right? You can show your family, your kids, your people that you talk to on a regular basis in real estate. It allows you to now have the functionality that you can translate the understood technology onto other facets.
And not just measurements.
Across the board, right? So this all should have worked today. It just happened to not work today.
Really good learning microphone.
Yeah, microphone actually is microphone. It's everything else that decided to take a day off, but that's okay because that is technology, and sometimes we will have to know how to do it the old-fashioned way, right? It's the concept of writing a contract in the real estate game today. We need to know how to write a contract. But if used through technology like Dotloop, like DocuSign, like Transaction Desk, whatever use you're using, if it is simpler and saves you time when able to, why not? Why not know both sides of it?
And I think that's huge. Don't take what I say as technology is all bad. I mean, I think it's huge. It can really enhance your abilities. I mean, think about how much time everything can save. I mean, again, back when we started doing real estate, I mean, if you were like, hey, I'm gonna write up a contract, you're gonna run back to the office, we're gonna print this thing off, we're gonna sign it, and then I'll fax it somewhere. Now, I mean, you can be in the same room, we're signing contracts, we're getting things taken care of, and it's actually cleaner, crisper, and everything else. And you're saving how many times? That's one resource we can't get back is our time and our clients' time. Right. So that's one of those things where, especially in a market like today, you don't have time to run back across town after viewing this property and write things down the old fashioned way, get off the old typewriter. Let's typewriter move. You just don't have time for that. Right. How much more crisper and cleaner are we now with technology?
And it's scalability. This is why you are seeing agents able to do more transactions, right? If I can write a contract in what equates to about 10 minutes on the high end, and the contract's filled out, ready to go, and can be digitally signed from me being here or me being in wherever, and my client being wherever, and I can accomplish that task complete in 15 minutes. Before, I couldn't even fax it to the person in 15 minutes, let alone get it signed and back.
And not only that, you also have the templates and all these other things where not only are you able to write these contracts, the contracts are basically ready to go for you, and you can't miss anything because you've already got it set up to where you're going to go instead of an extra, oh, I missed that addendum or whatever the case is. Yeah, there really are ways to make sure that you are that much more efficient, hands down, than if you're just printing everything off or you've already got it.
And this is a perfect calculated example, right? We both have iPads on the tape. And I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about it, our whole problem actually stemmed from that. But I'm going to try his iPad before I actually go to. Nonetheless, my iPad, it's a workhorse. I make it do everything, right? Whereas his iPad is
envy.
Yeah. It's a fun web browser.
Brings us back to our measuring game.
So it's a fun measuring tool, right? It kind of gives us the concept that, is he using it to the maximum capability? I know he's not, but that's okay because at least he's willing to take the chances with certain things. Now it's a comfortability level. We had this conversation yesterday that a lot of times people get out of their comfort zone and they don't want to move. They go into, you actually have seen this in the military quite a bit, that when you get out of your comfort zone, sometimes people just freeze up. Yeah.
Well, I think comfort zone, yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why they have art schools, you know, like Ranger School, for instance, is made to make you uncomfortable. There's no real, if we're being honest, Ranger School, right? But yeah, you go Ranger School, and it's not really there to teach you tactics, techniques. You're going to pick up tactics and techniques along the way. But the real big thing is to put you in an uncomfortable state and keep you there for 2 months plus, right? That's the idea. And then, but I'll tell you what, you really start to learn who your peers are after a couple of days of sustained uncomfortability. And you start realizing, man, this guy was awesome 3 days ago, and now he is a turd, right? And that's one of those kind of things. And I think on the comfort zone thing, I think the comfort zone right now is probably a huge issue for Americans in the world in general. But if you think about it, like, are you going to get any better in your comfort zone? When you're comfortable, you think about the guy from the beer commercial, right? Like the dude with the big beer guy. Like back in the day, it was funny watching the beer commercials. The guys that sit around, he's obsessed with ESPN or sports, nothing wrong with sports. I'm just saying, sitting around all day long with his feet up on the couch, he's got a beer here and he's doing whatever, and he doesn't do anything else but that. Now, I mean, when I was a kid, that was considered, oh, it's kind of funny that that's happening. Now that's a man, right? Like, you're a man. You sit around all day long, you do nothing but drink, eat potato chips, and sit with your feet up on the couch. But let's ask yourself a serious question. Are you going to get better at literally any facet of your life if that's how you spend any given day, much less if you give multiple days a week like that? You're not, right? If you're not pushing yourself a little bit harder on something, you're just not going to get you that. When you're comfortable, you will either stay the same, and if we're being realistic, you're going to get worse than what you are. You're going to gain a little bit. Your muscle mass is going to go down. That fat around your belly is going to get worse. You will not get better if you're in your comfort zone. Sorry, go ahead. I feel like he's attacking me in some physical format.
Just saying. But nonetheless, he is right. And we need to live in our uncomfortable zone, because by being uncomfortable, what it allows us to do is grow, right? And that's the key here, is that this technology, all these little facet pieces, they're only usable and only capable if we actually try them out. Listen, 21 minutes late, yes. But am I going to figure it out for next time? I'm going to do my damnedest. And if I'm not, then what am I doing to move myself in the right direction? Okay. And that's the key here, is that by living in that uncomfortable place, you have the ability for growth. Whereas if you're comfortable, listen, unfortunately, this is all too often, and we've seen it too often, is that people retire from anything, military, jobs, whatever it might be, and they're not around all that long. And why is that? Because they're
Adaptability too. And well, let's look at it from a real estate standpoint, right? I mean, how many times you hear, hey, real estate's changed more in the last 5 years than it has in the last 50 years, things like that. That was being said 10, 15 years ago. Real estate's changed the last 2 years more than I think it's ever changed, right? And that's one of those kind of things where people walking around saying, hey, actually I have 2 points on that. If we're going to sit around and say, hey, I've been doing this for 30 years, 50 years, I've got all this experience, but if you haven't adapted in the past, let's say 2 to 5 to 10 years, then are you really taking care of your clients? Right. And some could argue no, right? Like if you're still running back to get on that typewriter and all this kind of stuff, man, you're going to be behind the ball, especially right now. Imagine if you're a buyer's agent and it's going to take you an extra 4 hours, much less 40 minutes to get that in there right now on something that's available. Are you taking care of your clients? Probably not, right? Like that's one of those things where you cannot just do what you always do. You simply can't, especially in this business right now. If you're doing it the same way, our uncle, who was amazing, all that, his whole thing was pull out the phone book and start making phone calls. Guess what? That's just not how it's going to be. I don't think I can. I don't even know if they have. If they do, there's a phone book. It's probably this thing. But yeah, so that's one of those things. Now, on the flip side of that, though, where we come back over, if you're paying attention too much, you got all these young guys and gals that are out there and they're really good at technology. But I think we also, before you get too crazy into this technology, I got all the technology and all these older people that can't get this thing, older people like my age, before anybody gets upset. I'm an old dinosaur. But people like me who are not taking care of this thing, we're not using it to its full ability. But us older folks can do, the people older than me, is we can do conversations. We can do face-to-face. So I think both sides, people who are really good at technology and people who are really good at the basics, we were to meet in the middle, do that merge. That is the campaign. So synergy, right? That's what we're going to come together. So a lot of those people that are not so good at technology, hey, don't sit around and say, well, that's it. It's time for me to retire. One, you should probably learn some technology, at least the very basics. Because remember, at the end of the day, you need to be able to talk to people, sell yourself, get a hold of the properties, and get new leads, right? That's what you need to do. Now, if you can find the technology that can get you to take care of that, to get that going and enhance your skills, then you're golden. But the people who are really good at technology, maybe should learn how to talk to people face to face instead of just in a mass text. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and I think Greg Harrelson puts this in the best effect. He is a big proponent of Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry is all about outward prospecting. And what Greg says very simply is that nothing's changed in the last 30 years in the business. The only difference was I used to have 3 people dialing 3 phones to hand me to prospect. The only difference today is I'm now having a machine dial 10 phones to hand me to prospect. The principles will stay the same. If the principles stay the same, but if we can adapt and create value, for instance, using the tape measure concept, right? I used to have, this is not a long time ago. Yeah, 15 years. It starts to sound a little scarier when I say it. But 15 years ago, I had a realtor toolkit, right? I had all my things that I had to carry around. I don't have to carry around as many anymore, right? My digital camera, my measuring tape, my audio recorder, a lot of the things have been adapted into this. Now, the benefit of that is that those things still sit in my carts to this day.
Me too, but most of it I like. It's a really cool book set.
But what it comes down to is we can adapt and we can use those things that may make us more beneficial. So what it comes down to is just being strong through tools and resources that make us strong.
Well, and I think that's key, which said there's the principles, right? The principles are always going to stay the same. And this is something that was always done to me again for both Army, Marines, all this kind of stuff. But you get the 5 principles of patrolling, right? Those were the same in Alexander the Great's days. They were the same in World War II. They're the same now, and they'll be the same when we're using laser guns and cool stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's always going to be the same principles. It's just the tools we're using, right? If I got a musket, or if I've got an M4, or if I've got a laser gun 2000, right? At the end of the day, it's still all the same things. So I think that's huge. And who's our guy that we like? Jared James. Jared James has a really cool thing there where you marry the principal, but you date the model, right? So the principal is going to stay the same. Now, we're not going to definitely along those lines, but I like the statement. I really next guy. You're going to marry the principal, right? That's never going to go away. You've always got that. But the model's going to change on what you're using, certain things like that, like your techniques, tactics, all that kind of stuff. Principles are always and that's what I kind of understand. So Jared James.
Yes, and Jared James, speaking of which, I don't know if this is all that public, but at the last Board of Realtor meeting in Gephardt, Jared James will be attending our education day for the Greater El Paso Board of Realtors. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, guys, mix that into what Tom Ferry just came in, mix that into all the stuff that I have in front of me. The answer is it will break. It may not work. To that same extent, when it does make life, I don't know if the word is easier, but it does gain back some opportunity. More efficient. So, guys, thank you. Hopefully this was beneficial. I do apologize for us running a little bit delayed, but nonetheless, I think we accomplished what we're trying to get at, and that is simply don't be afraid of it. Go ahead first and figure it out so you know how to do it, even if you decide that it's not something for you.
And get out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thank you. And, as you can tell, we do shoot these live, so we do appreciate the few people. There's actually a pretty good amount of people watching this online. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you later.